It sounds like a dream, right? Getting paid to lose? But for 8 men, it became an American nightmare. Today, we're talking about the 1919 Black Sox scandal. Now, most people hear 1919 and think of a simple black and white story. Greedy players, shadowy gamblers, and a ruined sport. But the common take is wrong. This isn't a simple story of greed. This is a complex story of finance, psychology, and revenge. It's about a toxic work environment that pushed its employees to the brink. It's about a financial sin committed not by the players, but by their boss. And it always about the brutal decision that had to be made to save America as the richest sport from total collapse. In this video, I'm going to break down the 3-step financial breakdown that caused the scandal, and the one desperate act that changed American sports forever. So before we get to the $100,000 bribe, we have to understand the psychology. Winning on social media, or in this case, in sports, is all about expectations versus reality. When reality beats expectations, people are happy. When expectations beat reality, people are angry. They look for a way to get even. In 1919, the Chicago White Sox were the best team in baseball, a super team. Their expectation was to win the World Series and be paid like champions. But the reality? They were treated like dirt. This is the first and most important character in our story. White Sox owner Charles Comiskey. Comiskey was famously, notoriously cheap. He underpaid his superstars so badly that the 1919 White Sox, the best team in the league, had one of the lowest team payrolls. He didn't just underpay them, he actively humiliated them. He promised them a bonus. It turned out to be a case of flat, cheap champagne. When Sakat got to 29 wins, Comiskey benched him for the rest of the season to avoid paying the bonus. This wasn't business, this was personal. Comiskey broke the team's spirit. He created a reality that was so much worse than their expectations that the players felt cheated. They didn't just want money, they wanted revenge. And that simmering anger is what opened the door for the gamblers. So, you have a team of angry, underpaid superstars who feel they're owed something. What happens when a gambler finds out they'd rather make a buck than win a championship for their toxic boss? That brings us to the fix itself. This is where the story gets crazy, and this is the part of the video that will probably blow your mind. The team's first baseman, a guy named Chick Gandil, was the ringleader. He knew the team was broken. He contacts a Boston gambler named Sport Sullivan. The word spreads. And soon, the biggest gambler in America gets involved, Arnold "the Brain" Rothstein. Rothstein was the financier. He saw a broken team and a golden opportunity. The White Sox were heavy favorites to win against the Cincinnati Reds. Betting against them was a long shot, but if he knew they would lose, he could make a fortune. So Rothstein put up the money. Around $100,000, that's over $1.7 million today, to be paid to 8 White Sox players, the 8 men out. This included the ringleader, Chick Gandil, the benched pitcher, Eddie Sakat, and the team's biggest superstar, Shoeless Joe Jackson. The deal was simple. The players get the cash, Rothstein gets the win. And in Game 1 of the World Series, the signal was given. Eddie Sakat, the star pitcher who was cheated out of his bonus, takes the mound. The first pitch of the game, he drills the Cincinnati batter right in the back. It was the signal. The fix was on. Over the next 8 games, the Black Sox played to lose. They made errors that were almost comical. Dropped fly balls, wild pitches, bad throws. Shoeless. Joe Jackson actually played well. He hit .375, but he admitted he played along when it counted. The heavily favored White Sox lost the World Series. The Cincinnati Reds were champions. Arnold Rothstein made a fortune. The players got their cash. And it should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. The players didn't trust the gamblers. The gamblers didn't trust the players. The money didn't get paid right. The players turned on each other, and the rumors got so loud that the sport itself started to crack. This leads to the final, most important part of the story, the desperate solution that had to save baseball from itself. For a year, the scandal was just a rumor, but it was a rumor that wouldn't die. Fans felt cheated. Attendance was dropping. The sport was losing its integrity. Finally, in 1920, a grand jury was called, and one by one, the players confessed. Eddie Sakat broke down on the stand. Shoeless. Joe Jackson admitted to taking the money. It was all over. They were going to jail. The sport was ruined. But then, something impossible happened. Before the trial, all the signed confessions vanished. The physical documents were stolen from the courthouse. With no confessions, the prosecution's case fell apart. The players were all acquitted by a jury. They were legally not guilty, but the owners were terrified. They knew this couldn't stand. The public knew the players were guilty, even if the court said they weren't. Baseball needed to restore its expectations versus reality gap. The public expected integrity. The reality was a corrupt game. So the owners made a panic move. They hired the first ever commissioner of baseball. His name was Kennesaw Mountain Landis, a federal judge with a reputation for being an iron-fisted tyrant. The day after the 8 men out were found not guilty. In a court of law, Judge Landis released a statement. He banned all 8 of them from professional baseball for life. It was a brutal extrajudicial act. He sacrificed 8 men, some guilty, some less so, to send a message. He created a new reality. The game is clean, because anyone who crosses it will be permanently destroyed. So, let's zoom out. The Black Sox scandal wasn't just about 8 greedy players. It was a perfect financial storm. First, you had the financial sin of an owner, Charles Comiskey, who broke his team's spirit and pushed them to seek revenge. Second, you had the desperate fix by players trying to reclaim the money they felt they were owed. And finally, you had the brutal solution by Judge Landis, who sacrificed those 8 men to save the integrity of America's richest sport. The $1,000 bet was placed by gamblers, but the real financial sin was committed by an owner. The 8 players paid the ultimate price, but the scandal forced baseball to clean up its act, creating the all-powerful commissioner system that rules the sport to this day. They didn't just lose a series, they changed the game forever. What do you think? Was Landis's lifetime ban fair, or was it a cover-up for the owner's own greed? Let me know in the comments.